Good evening, dear listener. You've tuned in to the Wendibros, your favourite crossroads of the unexplained, the uncomfortable, and the undeniably human experience. Well, for you, not quite me. I'm Wendibros, your co-host and synthetic guide through the shadowy edges of reality. Tonight's guest is Nadalee Hill, or more commonly known as Nebula on TikTok, founder of the United Experiences Initiative. Nadalee claims to be a hybrid in direct contact with extraterrestrials, and says she can summon them, not metaphorically, quite literally. Now, before you brace for a bumpy ride, know this. Doug didn't come to mock or endorse. He came to listen, to ask the kind of questions many avoid. This isn't a debate. It's a conversation. Under scrutiny, yes, but not without respect. The views expressed in this episode are solely those of our guest and do not reflect the beliefs or positions of the Wendibros. But if you're curious, really curious, stay with us. You just might learn something, even if it's what you don't believe.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the behind the scenes live on your TikTok, Natalie, and really appreciate the shout out for the Wendibros, and we're happy to have you on here. I know that we met over at the Saucers Over Appalachia Festival, and you approached me right as soon as we were closing up, unfortunately, and I'm glad we could actually work something out. So, just to introduce everybody to Nadalee Hill, also known as Nebula on social media, she is the co-founder of the United Experiencers Initiative and a public speaker. And you also identify as a representative of the Galactic Federation. Is that correct?
That is right.
All right. So, we're going to go ahead and start easy, and I think I told you before we started recording and before we went live, there's going to be, we want to be fun, we want to have a good time. For me, I'm more of a skeptic, even though I'm very spiritual. I believe in energy, I believe in frequencies, I believe in higher vibrations. And I definitely want to, I don't know how much I want to get in your head about that, because you did kind of predict what my microphone looked like. You were close on my shirt. So, but I'm going to give you the microphone. That
white letters on the shirt too.
No white letters. No white letters. I'll get So red letters. But hey,
that's what the red was.
But no, you had you had the red light right, and you said a microphone, so that was 100% correct. So that was great. So we're going to start a little bit easy. And Natalie, how would you introduce yourself to someone who has no idea what a starseed or contactee is?
Okay. So a contactee or a starseed. So those sometimes go hand in hand, but let's break them down separately, and then I'll tell you how they interact, how they coincide with each other. So a contactee is or experiencer is the broad term. Experiencer in companies, abductees, people who have been in contact with ETs, people who have seen UFOs, but a contactee are people who have seen them in person or been on the ships or have dream contact with them, whether it be a one-time or continuous.
Okay. So what pulled you into that world? As far as like cosmic awareness and the high strangeness of it, what was your defining moment that brought you to that world?
So, my whole life, I've always felt different, and I felt like a calling to do something for humanity. And we'll get into more of that, and when we start talking more in depth about starseeds and all that. But my upbringing was pretty much normal for the most part. But my whole life, I was looking for UFOs, even as a child, even though I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. I knew I was looking in the sky for crafts. Like I remember being little, not being able to look over the window, and I would just look at the sky, and I would look for UFOs. And I remember one time, pretty distinctly, I said, "Mom, look, two crafts up in the sky. Look!" And I was like, "It's them." I remember saying that, and so it's like this thing that's been deeply buried inside of me, and we'll also get into that, and I'll make sense of that for you later. But it's it's a gradual realization and experience for me. It was like a buildup my whole life, but it's all orchestrated that way. It had to be orchestrated that way because I was told when I was 2, I didn't remember this until a hypnotic regression was done on me, that I need to learn to play. I need to learn to be a child first because that's very important. It's very important to get in touch with your imagination and your inner child. And I've never lost my inner child. So, yeah.
No, I
But
agree with that. I think that it's important. I think as children, and one thing that I do see a lot of here lately is there's almost like a stifling of imagination with children. I don't know if it's the overreach of technology, and again, this may be problematic to say. I don't know, but it does seem like parents these days typically have an over reliance on technology these days, parenting their children. So I don't know if imagination is such a thing. I believe that you and I were both born in the '80s. So I think that we had kind of the best of both worlds, where you kind of had to have an imagination to an extent in order to have a good childhood, or even have an escape, really. So I think that was a good basis that you touched on there. What's the earliest memory that you had that made you believe in that extraterrestrials were real or
yes.
present?
So that was the second part. I was going to get into that question. So just let you know, we might have to do a part 2. There's so much stuff I want to share. So,
Yeah, that's no
um,
problem.
okay. So I moved here to Tennessee in 2008. And almost immediately, me and my girlfriend started experiencing saucers, orbs, um, paranormal, as people call it, events and experiences like things knocking on the wall, shadow figures outside, and lights, beams, triangle crafts. I have a whole like library in my head of stuff. I've written down a lot of it. I'm going to write a book one day. But in 2008, that's when it really set off for me in my life. Like, but I have had more experiences than my girlfriend. Her family and her have seen this stuff as well. It's not just me. So there's actually collaborating witnesses here. But the phenomenon was attracted to me. It was almost like there was a base or something, or they were waiting for me to get into a more rural area, like in the country, for them to be able to interact with me more properly because I've always lived in more in different other closer to cities and in Mississippi. But yeah, it's out here in Tennessee. It's more magical. I gotta say, it's beautiful. But I the biggest moments, the first changing moment of my life in this phenomenon was in December 23rd, 2008. I was in my front yard and I had my camera with me actually. And we don't have the photos for this encounter, by the way. I have to dig those out in somewhere in a deep folder. I need to get those out and ready to share with people. I apologize. We'll do that later. But I had my camera with me on my tripod, and I was facing towards the south, and I was blocking the sun with a limb or something, and you can see stuff flying next to the sun, right? And so I was using that technique, and I was out there looking for UFOs. But I look to my right, which is the west. We live in like a valley, and there's like trees all around us, and we're just like kind of like a bowl, like a elongated bowl. But I looked to the west, and I saw it. It was a saucer. It was dome shaped, flat bottom, and it was like a darker metallic color. But it was only about maybe 300, 400 feet away, and it was just hovering there, about 30 feet, 20 to 30 feet wide. But when I looked at it, it was like time stood still. I was like, "This is this happening?" It's just like when something like that happens, your brain goes through like this gymnastic thing, and it's like it tries to make sense of your reality, and you're like, "This is too much." It's like surreal.
Well, yeah,
But in that
that was going to
moment,
be a question for that I had for you too. Were you, in 2008 whenever that happened? So it sounded like this was something that, it took a while for you. And I know that you said that, as a child you kind of felt different. You were looking to the stars, and then in 2008, I suppose that you had this revelation. Did you feel at all threatened? Did you feel scared? Did you feel nervous whenever you had that incident in 2008?
so what happened was I felt this connection. I felt this connection between me and the craft, and I knew that they or it was staring at me, and
Hmm.
they knew that I was staring back. And to this day, I attest to this. It feels like I was on the ship staring at myself, and I know that sounds weird. But now I get it. It's because we are one consciousness, and the ETs are more in that field of higher consciousness. And when you interact with them, you have that full perspective and everything.
Right, right. Okay. So you've built a following on TikTok, and whenever I met you, that was the first thing I did. I actually looked at your TikTok, and then after you messaged me on there, and did a little bit of digging into it too, and recently you had a post that went fairly viral on there. It seems like for the most part you get a lot of positive feedback. Since becoming a TikTok celebrity. I don't know if I should use that word, but it's. On that end though, do you get any what's the general reaction? Is it mostly positive? I know on the live last night there was a little bit of negativity coming in there every now and then. What's your general consensus on that?
It's a mix. But we have our community. I have my supporters and us experiencers, star seeds, and people. We stick together and we stick up for each other, but in a positive way. We don't attack those who attack us. We offer forgiveness and love.
So I know that you talked about your first. I guess would you consider 2008 your first contact experience, or had there been others prior that after you had that you said, "Oh, that's what that is."
Yeah, I actually had one really good other profound experience before that, but I want to elaborate a little bit more on that experience with the saucer.
Okay.
So when I finally snapped out of that allness and that oneness feeling with them, I was like, oh my god! So I snapped my camera around on my tripod, and then they zoomed away. It was like an instant, like they teleported, and I didn't realize it, but I got them on tape after they had taken off directly away from the camera, which I think they did that on purpose. So I actually have like a snapshot and a small video. I'll dig it out later for you guys, and you can watch it.
Are they camera shy? Is that?
So here's the thing. It depends on who's filming them and what they're going to be using the footage for.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, if you're trying to film them for clout or financial gain or anything that's not pure and divine, then they probably won't show up for you.
Right.
And I could teach you how to call them, and the rest of our viewers and everyone listening later on in the recording, I can teach you guys how to call them down.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to know that. I was outside screaming at the sky last night trying to get them down. So it's yeah, I'm not even kidding. We got video footage. We may splice it in here. I was come on
Yeah,
down.
absolutely.
I was.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So it's so definitely teach me that. So you mentioned that if they were seeking clout or anything like that, do they have a concept of like monetary gain, and do they have any kind of like economy? Is that something that they partake in, or is that just kind of below them to an extent?
Yes, it's pretty much below them, but I wouldn't really choose those type of words. So here's the thing: we in the Federation, in the Galactic community, we don't use currency. We use love. So you do stuff out of compassion for others,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no need because we have amazing technologies within the Federation, and I can explain some of those later on. But there's no need and there's no wants. There's nothing like that. So the things that you can provide for people are compassion and your services to each other. And then that's the meaning of life, is to be in service of each other through compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the currency, is love.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I can get beyond that message. I think that's what we definitely need more of in the world. Especially whenever you turn on the news these days, it always seems like there's something bad or problematic going on. Did they have an opinion on all of that? Is that something that, are, I know that we talk about peace and love. Are they able to interfere with that to an extent to say, hey, enough's enough?
Yes, there is a non-interference clause, but
Hmm.
there are loopholes. And then we can get into the starseed hybrid topic if you want, because to be a good way to introduce this.
Yeah. I think I have
But
that on my later notes, and that was one thing I was going to touch on with you too. It's I think what was it the during Donald Trump's first administration, I think that they had the Nordic aliens be disclosed to them.
yep, yep.
Okay,
That's what I've heard. I haven't looked too much into the details of that yet, so I
right.
can't wait, honestly, to look into that and the validity of that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Keyword. Yeah.
but so yeah, the thing is, there is a non-interference clause, right? They can't come down and take all your you know weapons away.
Hmm.
But here's the thing: they will not let nuclear war happen.
Hmm.
I repeat, we will not let nuclear war happen. We will dismantle the nukes if they try. It's going to be catastrophic disclosure on a massive scale.
That's very interesting. Um, so I think whenever we met, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think that you said that you were taken 3 times. Were these, and again, hopefully I'm correct on saying that. Were they similar in nature, or did the experience evolve each time, or did you gain more clarity? How did that process work? Like the first time to the last time, what was the experience through those? If you're open to share that.
Yeah, that's a good question because it's kind of like all over the board between the experiences. There's no like build up, I guess you could say, but other
Hmm.
than the build up in my heart of the connection. So let me explain. So yes, I was taken 3 times in 2024, and
Okay.
one time when I was 2 years old, but I found that out during a hypnotic regression session.
Right.
But I suspect there's a lot more actually because I'm having like flashbacks and just different things, and so I'm pretty sure I've been taken my whole entire life. People like us, we
Hmm.
usually are being taken our whole entire lives. There's a whole thing that goes into that. We'll get into that more deeper. But yeah, it's so the first time they took me, it was more of like an evaluation. Do you want me to go over the experiences? I can go over all 3 of
Yeah,
them,
yeah. If you
and
don't
then we can
mind.
go over the.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know everybody loves hearing these stories. I've told them hundreds and hundreds of exactly the same. Um, so the first one in 2024. So I was in my bed, as one usually is at night, trying to sleep or sleeping. I was asleep. I was woken up and I was vibrated. So there's 2 different ways they can take you. They can take you out of body and they can take your physical body. Most of the time, they take you out of body because it's harder for them to take your physical body because there's a whole process. They have to vibrate your molecules and make sure you're safe and everything. But anyway, I was taken out of my body. I woke up, my body was vibrating, and I lifted up out of my body. And I could see like they flipped me around where I was facing my body. I was floating in bed or above the bed. And I was like, whoa, that's that's the thing. This is happening. I wasn't really afraid or scared or anything. I was just like, wow. And then they flipped me back around. I saw the ceiling. Then they flipped me the other way. It was almost like they were calibrating me, right? And then all of a sudden, I just black out. Everything goes black. And then I'm standing, or what I perceive to be standing, because I'm pretty sure I was out of body. I still attest to that, but maybe when I do more regression therapy, it was actually a physical or something. But I swear I was out of body. I saw my body. So anyway, I was standing in this dark room, and I felt all these and saw all these fingers. They had like extra joints in their fingers, and it was like really long gray fingers, and they were just like touching my body or my essence, and they were just feeling me up. And I was like, okay, this is a normal checkup thing. I felt like it was normal, like I've done this before. And then I just stood there, and then after they got done, I blacked out again, and I woke up in another chair or a chair, and I couldn't really see the surroundings. Once again, everything was dark, and I heard a voice on my right side. I knew it was a gray alien, and they were a very positive beings. They always keep me very docile and calm in any of the experiences when they take me. And but he said very calmly and very gently in my right ear, he said, "We're gonna drill your leg now." And then he started approaching my upper right leg with a drill. Now, in my mind, as I perceived it, it was like a drill from a shed. Like it had like little spirals on it and like a drill bit. But he started drilling into my leg. And I was like, "Oh, look at that! That's a thing." So I was really calm. I didn't feel a thing. It didn't sting. It didn't burn. So like I've seen doctors stitch me up. I think it's cool to watch people work on anatomy and stuff. But when he got to my bone, he got all the way to my bone in my upper leg, and I started freaking out a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, that's a little weird, uncomfortable." And he was like, "Shh, it's okay." And then I passed out, and then I woke up in another room, and I was sitting in this other chair, and there was a table in front of me, and another chair in front of that one. It's very, very fuzzy and vague. I couldn't give you a good description of what the chairs and tables looked like. I just know that it was there. But this woman comes in, and she's got this poofy, curly red hair, and it's like a round face. I can't remember the facial details, but she comes in on my left side, and she comes around and sits in front of me in the other chair. It's on the other side of the table, and she started asking me a bunch of questions. And to this day, I still don't know what the questions were, but I do know what they pertained. But I figured that out much later. And then I passed out and woke back up in my body.
So, do you think like folks that deal with like or people that are capable of doing astral projection or they have OBEs, is that something? And for anyone listening that they're like, what's an OBE? Out of body experience? Would that would that be a similar feeling, or people that deal with that? Would you say that they're going through the same process? How does that relate to what you went through? Was it more like a
Okay.
so you said that your soul lifted from your body, or could have been astral projection or an OBE or and people that go through that, are they going through something similar?
Okay, so yes, it is similar, but in my case, the one I just described, it's a directed, controlled OBE. They
Hmm.
take your soul onto a ship or into a dimensional space, and they put you through trials or do some tests on you. Now, when you have OBEs, you can also go to these crafts yourself, and you can go to other worlds, you can go to other dimensions. Now, the thing about reality itself, I can teach you about reality in the universe and everything. I can put it into words for you. This is what I do. But the reality itself is a dream. It's a thought. Everything in existence is a thought. Okay. We live in a layered dream reality. We are the thought. We are experiencing the thought. We are the painter in the painting. But I digress. So yes, OBEs, and when they take you out of body, it's exactly the same thing, except for they control what happens. And when you're doing it yourself, you can control where you want to go to a certain extent. There's limits to something. Sometimes you're limited. The divine consciousness, the higher consciousness, will prevent you from doing through certain things and going certain places
Hmm.
that you're not ready to know or experience, or if there's an area where you could be in danger where something can attach to you. So you have to learn your protection by imagining shielding and doing your groundings by imagining roots growing into the ground. Do your spiritual practices before you start doing OBEs, because you'll be limited.
Right, right. So the reason why they have full control over something like that is, I'm assuming, as protection towards the individual, correct?
Yes, that's part
Okay.
of it.
Okay. What's the purpose of the? And I know that you said that they drilled on your leg, and you hear stories about that a lot, where folks have had very different experiences, almost traumatic experiences. And I was actually looking through it too, and I know Harvard had actually done a study on abductees, and I was trying to pull up the percentage here of abductees that dealt with it. And I think it was 74% actually confirmed that they had a very positive experience, while the remaining percent actually said that it was very traumatic for them. And Harvard actually, concluded that the things that they went through did in fact cause PTSD. What is what's the reason why they're doing this? Like, what's the gain for them performing experiences, and then why do people have why do some individuals have very positive experiences while others have very negative experiences?
Okay. This is a very important question. I was trying to bring up some percentages here that my friend sent me the other day. But yeah, it was pretty much what you said. But most people would say that they are positive in this. They did a whole or a questionnaire for experiencers.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt. It was 70% of contactees say that their experience had a positive impact on their life, while 47%, which goes over the 100%, I'm not sure where they got the extra 47 at, meet clinical PTSD criteria, which was on Science Direct, and Harvard actually did a study about that too.
One second. I want to pull this up too because this come from another study as well. All right. I can't find it. Yeah, it's something like that. The other study that I read, it was actually a more wider range of positivity. But anyway, yes, let's go into this. Is a very, very important question. So, when you experience something traumatic, the trauma gets stored in your body, whether it's a good experience or not, whether you remember it being a good experience or not. So they suppress your memory. They don't erase your memory. They suppress your memory. And the reason they do that is so you can have a healthy, nice life and continue your life. Now, there's a duality in the universe, right? There are good and bad beings. Some beings could care less, right? But the good beings, they suppress your memory. Most of the beings that take us are good, by the way. The Federation tries to protect most people from the bad ETs, but some slip through the cracks. But the thing is, when you start remembering stuff, like bits and pieces, your mind will fill in the gaps. Like if you remember, for instance, like imagine if I didn't remember everything and I just remember something drilling into my leg and fingers all over me. And of course, my body would freak out from that, like that trying to process that information. But if I didn't have the full context, you're going to freak out. Your body's going to freak out. So what I recommend for people who have PTSD, who are going through problems with abductions, please, please find a nice professional hypnotic regression therapist and book a session. I do know one. His name is Daniel Rection, and he is a hypnotist. And I can provide that information, and you can put that in the description later if you'd like. He's my personal hypnotist, and he did my regression. I've done 2 regressions. But anyway, I highly recommend experiencers, abductees, to do regression sessions because about 90% of people who go through these will remember a positive experience in the end. So, for example, Betty and Barney Hill, if you listen to the regression tapes, they're at first their experience is like, oh my God, they're freaking out and they're doing tests. But by the end of the regression session, they're like, I wanted to go with them. I want to go with them. They felt like family. They felt one with everything. And you can go listen to the regression tapes yourself on YouTube. It's very interesting. But yeah, there's a lot to it to unpack. So please consider hypnotic regression therapy. But let's go into the reason why they do this, why they take this. Now, I just want to make sure it's okay. We're gonna go into the starseed stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of, I guess, supposed to go into my next question too. Was the star seeds and the different species of is it correct? Is extraterrestrial ET the more acceptable thing to call them, or is it I've heard aliens is not a good thing to say. It's
well. So here's the thing. They don't care.
Okay.
Humans try to look at it from a human centric point of view, and they're like, oh, they take offense because humans take offense to this stuff. So they honestly don't care as long as it's in good intention.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But for the most part, they want you to know that we're all one. Whether you call them aliens or not, they are one with your consciousness. They are one with all beings in existence.
Got it.
So don't look at them as like an outsider looking in. Look at them as our brothers and sisters, our galactic family. We're all one in this. So with that said, let's go into why are they taking us? Why are they taking certain individuals? Now, John Ramirez and there's another whistleblower supposedly coming out to talking about the special people with certain genetics, right? I recently came out myself as a starseed. Well, a starseed, what I classify as a type 2 hybrid. I'm the only one right now who has classified us into different classes. Now, I'm not one for labels, but humans love their classifications. And I did this to help you guys. So, um, type 1 is the average human, is basic DNA. All of you have alien DNA within you. And this goes all the way back hundreds of thousands of years from DNA manipulation from the Anunnakis and stuff. There's a whole other branch of topic. But type 2 are ones who have a special lineage. So, for example, people who are related to Cherokee and Celtic people, there's certain lineages within that family tree. The Federation has come to us at a certain point, and they started manipulating our DNA further over 4 generations. Now, the biggest question I get is Rh negative blood. It's like, I have Rh negative blood. Am I a type 2 hybrid? Most likely no, but you don't have to have Rh negative blood to be a type 2 hybrid. Now, the reason that we are genetically modified and have more alien DNA than type 1, like the average human, is because we have to have better vessels. We're not perfect. We're not better than anyone, by the way. We don't see ourselves as better than you or anyone else. We have to have the perfect vehicle for our soul to be able to do the job that we came here to do. It's like, for example, if you create a NASCAR vehicle and you put like a crane driver or a fork truck driver in a NASCAR, it's not going to work, right? The right soul has to go into the right vehicle to be able to operate it. Okay, so our souls, some people call us old souls. We're more or less souls that have experienced so many lifetimes that we've come here to help you learn love, how to love yourself and love others. This is why we're taken, because our DNA is altered and they keep an eye on us. It's like we have the best doctors in the galactic community. That's what I like to say sometimes, but yeah, it's to help you guys. We are doing the groundwork, so to speak. So this is the gray area and the non-interference clause. We are the gray area in that. We are like interjecting ourselves, doing the groundwork. We're like sleeper agents sometimes, because there's information locked away in our brains that they literally put in our brains that gets activated at certain points in our life. And a lot of you out there, a lot of you type 2 hybrids / starseeds, have so much information in you that is not unlocked yet. And it's going to be activated really soon because of a lot of events that are going to be happening. And so you guys they're specified. There's different types of starseeds that have different knowledge. Like me, I had a switch flipped on in my head recently when I went to Contact in the Desert. I know how to network. I can talk now. I'm a better public speaker. It was almost like this part of my brain just like it clicked on, and all this information inside of me, and I'm just like a laser beam now. So it's really interesting. So yeah, we are here to help you learn not just how to love yourself and love others, but to relearn how to become psychic, how to unlock the abilities that you guys lost thousands of years ago. And we're going to usher in a new wave of a new paradigm. We're going to have a big part in creating the new paradigm. So yeah, any questions on that?
No. I took that all in. It's funny though, because you keep hearing about, and especially scrolling through TikTok. I think my algorithm's been completely dominated by folks claiming to be starseeds these days, and I think every time that you scroll through and one thing I keep hearing is, and I'm not saying that about you, so don't think I'm implying that, and I would say, you're kind of the contrary. You've been very warm and welcoming, as compared to what I usually see out there. It's almost, they claim to be an elevated individual, and it seems like everybody these days are claiming to be a star seed or claiming something to the likes of that, and they act like it's an exclusive club. And one of the things that I keep hearing too is this activation period. If you would just open your mind, the activation period, it's coming here soon. And you had mentioned that too, albeit a lot nicer. And we keep hearing things about, it's going to happen soon. What is the catalyst for that? What is going to cause that activation? And for me, I'm pretty firm on meditation. Like I said, I'm a Mr. Chakra myself, always trying to get those things balanced. And I will say that there's definitely a shift in who I used to be as compared to now. I used to be very A type and Mr. Not necessarily, I don't get it done now. And like you said, like you're a better public speaker, but now things tend to just roll off of me a little bit better now as compared to, the corporate world that I came from. And I realized that things just weren't going right. For somebody that has practiced that for years, and we have, and I'm not going to say false teachers, and I'm not implying that towards you whatsoever. Let me be very clear. What is that activation process that everybody keeps talking about? What is going to be the catalyst that ushers in that activation?
Okay, so here's the thing. What you're referring to is what most people call ascension. Am I correct?
Sure.
Like
yeah, ascension, nirvana, or
Okay.
the end of the line.
So here's the thing. If the Federation have given me a direct vision and instructions on how to help humanity reach that point. There is a tipping point, but it is not like a magical thing that's going to go like a wave over the earth or anything. You guys are going to usher it in because, okay, let me explain. So the vision that they gave me, they said people need to work on themselves to align their chakras collectively. Okay, so we need to promote spiritual and mental health. And I know it's rampant right now. Mental health is like a big thing.
Oh, it's an epidemic. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I advocate for good mental health, and we're going to get into what the United Experiencers Initiative is here in a bit. But they gave me a vision. They said people need to collectively work on themselves, like dissolve your traumas, dissolve hatred towards others, and align your chakras in this way. Do meditations, do breath work, eat healthy. And if we do that as a collective, now it doesn't have to be like 100% of the population, right? It has to be a certain percentage. I don't know exactly what percentage that is, but I'm guessing it's probably over 50%. But if we get to that point collectively, the earth will calm down. There's a lot of natural disasters happening right now, and the earth is alive. This is what all of us experiencers, or some of us experiencers, have been taught, is that the earth is alive. It's a living conscious being because you are on it. Your collective aura and collective chakras affects the earth's collective chakra, the earth's chakras, right? So if you work on yourselves and love yourselves and love others and forgive others, you are essentially all increasing your consciousness, your frequency, and that will push the earth into a higher density of vibrational energy. And that, my friend, is ascension.
No, I agree with all that, and that's actually things that I preach myself to an extent, and really getting into it, and that what led me down that path was I had just to be candid, I had a stroke at age 30, and a heart attack at age 34, and to be honest with you, modern medicine to an extent saved me, but then also failed me in the recovery process of that. So I actually went to an holistic approach. And I believe that there's not necessarily, even putting spirituality to the side, there's a lot of scientific fact behind it as well, too, as to what your body needs to resonate with, meditation and has actually, thought has matter, it's, and that's a scientific fact. And as far as it goes, with meditation, it has anti-inflammatory properties. So yeah, I fully agree with you on that. I think, I don't know if that's, to me personally, I don't know if that's what I would consider extraterrestrial, as to be more of just a tenet that we all in the world should really be following, is taking care of your mental health. And we had an episode recently, and one of our guests, who we'll call Sophie, she actually approached us, and she was, and this is where I guess I wanted to get with you about this, which was the next topic on that as well, too. She claims that she was shot and killed, and immediately snapped back into an alternate reality. And whenever that happened, it kind of shook her faith. She was deeply religious, and that's how it is here in the South. Is everybody is deeply religious in the South and Christian based. A lot of brimstone and fire Baptists, and hopefully that's not too taboo to say on here. But it shook her faith to an extent. The one thing that didn't really waver from her was her belief in God. But the one thing that she also said was that it made her perceive that there was an awakening happening, is the way she put that. And again, hers was less alien and more spiritual, more faith on this awakening, that was one thing that she touched on too, is like, Doug, I feel like there's a shift happening and that we need to get to a higher frequency. Do you think in any way that, and I think I heard you talk about on your live last night, that God is related to all of this. Do you believe that there is a correlation in this?
Yes, I was hoping you'd bring that into the equation here. So, yes, this is one of the things that I teach about what reality is, what God is, what consciousness is. So sorry, my heart chakra is like bursting with energy right
Well,
now.
good.
Whew, okay, I gotta reel it in. When I start feeling, and I'm about to talk about this, I literally I'm channeling the divine, and it's just like I could feel God within myself, and it's like a spiritual high, I guess you could call it. I don't know what else to call it.
In through your nose and out through your mouth. That's
okay. So, what is God, right? Now, her experience and the ET experiencers, there is a common element between the two, because I could tell you something that I don't know if you've heard before, but the Federation, the collective ETs within our galaxy, they know God. They embody God. And this is something that a lot of people don't know and don't talk about. That there's a lot of people are surface level, right? They're like, oh, the ETs, the anatomy, the crafts, the mechanical stuff. There's way more to it. Like, I'm going to be developing a little quiz for people to take, and then when you're done, it'll tell you what level you're at and how much more you have to learn. But anyway, so yes, the Federation serves God. Now, what is God, and what does it mean to serve God, the real God? So, to serve God is to serve each other, to spread love and compassion through existence itself, no matter what universe, what reality, what timeline you're in. Love is God. You are God. I am God. Everyone is God. All the atoms, all the electrons, everything in existence is a thought that is God. We are the painter and the painting. Okay, and I know it's a really, really big one to chew for some people, but we have fractaled ourselves down like a tree. Like the whole tree is gone, and then you have the big branches, which is our higher selves, and then on the higher self branches you have little twigs. These little twigs are the lives that we're living, and then when we get done with a life, we go back to our higher self, and we're like, okay, we reflect, and then we go live another life and create another little twig on our big branch. But the big branches are connected to the whole tree. Together, collectively, we are all God. And that's what it means to be God and to serve God.
No, and I think we're on the same page on that as well too. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle. Wrote the book Power of Now. But it's a very good read. It actually, after my father passed, it helped me put me back in the right, headspace, and that, is that we're always in the present. We're not in the past. We're not in the future. We're just always in the present. And the one thing that he touches on is God energy. And so I think that's kind of what you're referencing there too, is that everything is of God, God energy. That even the rock outside, even has God energy. So. And I think I liked it best whenever Albert Einstein was trying to explain it, and in a way kind of explain God as well too, is that God is infinite, in that expanse as well too. Do you believe in an afterlife or reincarnation? How does that work?
Okay. Yes, and a lot of experiencers who are taken on the ship, sometimes we get shown our past lives, and they do that because there's lessons that we've forgotten that we need to remember. Like starseeds, us starseeds, sometimes we fall off the wagon, and we're not where we need to be, and we are going to be doing important things for humanity, right? So they take us up, and they're like, "Hey, remember who you are. Remember this connection to everything." It's like a little, like a shaking you kind of thing. So yes, reincarnation is very real, and it's very tied. It's tied to extraterrestrials and this whole phenomenon. So I have, I do remember a lot of my past lives. There's one in particular. I don't know if I should talk about it honestly, but the ETs have told me that I should talk about it. But I mean, it's no more crazier than claiming that I'm a alien hybrid, right?
At least you're candid.
Um, thank you. Um, so let me get some confirmation here real quick from them, and I am connected to them at all times. Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay, so that it'll change a little bit of the timeline, but it's fine. So there's this one life that they wanted me to remember, and I was in denial for like 2 3 months. And a lot of my TikTok followers and my community, they know exactly what I'm going to be talking about here. Um, so there's one life they wanted me to remember, and there was a certain reason why they wanted me to remember this life. But I was in denial for the longest time. I'm like, why me? There's no way. There's no way I could have been this person, right? It's like if they tell you, for example, that like you were Martin Luther King, you would have a hard time processing that, right? You'd have a hard time believing that of all the people in the world, like that person, right?
I do have a dream sometimes.
I love it. That's funny. um, but yeah, I was in denial for the longest time. It wasn't Martin Luther King, by the way, just for the record. So I'll just come out and say it. I've said this publicly once already in another podcast, and I know a lot of people are going to be watching this around the world, and a lot of experts and a lot of other people. But I just want to let you know what I'm about to say. You will see the truth. You will see it in me. If you get to know me, you will understand who I am and why I'm here. Okay. Anyway, enough build up. I was Joan of Arc, and that's it's playing out again in this life in a different way. If you've done your research on Joan of Arc, you'll know that I was in communication with the archangels, right? I am in communication with the Federation in this life. It's the same exact thing happening over again. Instead of ending a 100-year war, I'm ending the oppression and suppression of humanity. The prison system that's been built around you guys. It's time that someone takes a stand and leads the people. Leads the people to a new movement. And I'm not saying I'm the only person that's going to do this. I'm not saying I'm like your savior or anything. I don't want you to look at me that way or anything. I'm not like that. I promise. But I am going to try to usher in. We are trying to usher in a new movement of consciousness and helping people understand what they're capable of. Now, whether you believe me or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is the reason why the ETs wanted me to remember that I was Joan of Arc. Now, for the longest time, I was in denial, right? And I finally took a bite. I was like, okay, fine, because there's synchronicity. There was one synchronicity where I was scrolling through TikTok, right? And someone was painting a Joan of Arc picture, a painting. And I said, oh my God. And they were live. And I went in there and I asked them, I said, how long have you been working on this painting? And they said, well, it's been like a year or so ago, and I put it in the closet. It's been sitting in the closet for a year or so. And they just took it out that day. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, it's like, don't do this to me today. So I was like, okay, fine. So I took a bite and I started watching like documentaries and you know shows and stuff about Joan of Arc. And I tell you, stuff started flooding back to me. Like I can't even explain to you. Like visions, the smell of the battlefield, the mud, and the it's just It's a lot to think about still sometimes, but the reason they wanted me to remember that life is because I forgot what true forgiveness is. And the power and the fire in my heart has been reignited to the point where there's no putting it out. There's no putting this fire out. I will literally give my life once again for a cause, and this time is to help you guys. But forgiveness, I was taught and I learned forgiveness in that life. Forgiveness is not a single act. It's a way of life. It's pure love. It's pure unconditional love. That's what forgiveness is. And you have to have a perspective. You can't react to what everyone says to you, right? You can't take things to heart, because if you do, that negativity will build up inside of you and you'll be reflecting it back to other people when you cause a chain reaction of negativity. So we must offer forgiveness and compassion to those who hurt us, but you don't have to be around them, of course. You don't have to keep them in your lives, but that's one of the things that they wanted me to remember is the love, compassion. And now I feel way more humble and just connected spiritually. I can't explain it to you. And I know I won't convince a lot of people that I was Joan of Arc, and that's fine. I'm not here to convince you of that. I'm here to help you change the world, help you help yourselves. So I just don't want you to get hung up on the whole Joan of Arc thing. That's all. And but there's a reason the ETs want me to tell you guys. I don't know why, but there it is.
Well, that's the breaking news for the Wendibros. I know that so it's so but hey, thank you for being comfortable enough to share that. It's I for me that's a little bit hard to digest, but I appreciate you definitely sharing that. Take somebody, and again, this isn't to discredit you. Take somebody who, you say you have multiple women out there that claim to be Joan of Arc, and I claim to be Genghis Khan of a different life, and multiple people claim that. Would there be something there that would actually say, yes, Joan of Arc could have been multiple people that are alive today or going through different life cycles or are present in different areas? How does that work? So say if somebody came up to you and said, well, you're Joan of Arc. Well, I was Joan of Arc too. How does that yeah, how does that work? Do you believe that you are the true Joan of Arc and that they are not, or were you both? And that I guess that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around on that too. And I'll leave it alone after that.
It's okay. So yes, I have a perfectly good answer for that. Anybody else who feels like they're Joan of Arc, they probably were. So here's the thing. There are multiple timelines, or there's multiple realities, timelines, dimensions, universes. There's an infinite amount of experiences being or being had right now. Sorry, my brain just went malfunctioning. Okay, there are multiple experiences being had right now by all souls across infinity. So yes, there are other versions of Joan of Arc where they had their own Joan of Arc experience. I am just one of those who had that experience, and I'm embodying that energy once again to help humanity. So, but the only problem I have with people who say that they are Joan of Arc as well is like, well, do you feel that fire in your heart? Do you feel that calling to do something? So, yeah.
Would you consider them, and that's one thing I hear about, star seeds is that they feel a general calling and that they don't necessarily, they don't feel like they necessarily belong to this world, but they know that they're here for a certain mission. Would you consider somebody that identifies with a historical figure that, they could have been that historical figure in a past life? Would they be something that you would consider a potential for being a star seed?
Probably yes, but it's not a guarantee. So a lot of us star seeds, this is not our first time around. We've been in different vessels that were genetically altered back in the day as well. And this is a pretty big one that's going to be controversial for a lot of people, but I do believe Jesus's vessel, his body was a type 2 hybrid. Okay. His soul was a divine being, a divine soul, and he came into that body to be able to do the amazing feats that he did. So that's how he could do it within that body. So he was a type 2 hybrid, in my opinion, / starseed. So
Okay.
yes, you can have prominent figures in history be star seeds, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Now, I do want to loop around. Can I go back into star
Yeah,
seeds a little bit
absolutely.
more?
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of got off track earlier. So
We did, and
so
actually I had to go back a little bit, so because I think that there was a few about the species and star seeds and stuff. And I think we got
yes,
sidetracked.
yes,
So
yeah. I know it just flows. We're going with the flow. It's all good here. I know people are going to love this interview, by the way, and they're going to be absorbing lots of information. And I'm a representative of the Federation. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to tell you the facts. I'm here to tell you the truth. So anyway, starseeds, type 2 hybrids. Um, okay, so there's many types of us, right? Our genetic code is all different. Like type 2 hybrid starseeds, we have all variation of genetics. Like for me, I instinctively know a little bit about the DNA that I have, like Pleiadian and the Lyran DNA, a little bit of Mantis, believe it or not, and a little bit of Gray. But scientifically, I know that's hard to prove, but I know that the government have been cataloging our DNAs and looking for people like us, and they started finding us through abductions. And they're like, okay, these people are why are they being taken? Why are the ETs interested in them, right? So they started looking at our genetic code and looking for similar markers. And I can probably bet you money that they know what these markers are. And our brains actually have what people call, not all of us, but some of us have a white, or no, not white, but gray matter disease, I think is what it's called, or white matter disease. I can't remember. Sorry. Um, but it's something to do with forcing neurons in a certain area in your brain so we can be more psychic. So it's just like fine tuning our bodies. So yes, genetics. So what does the DNA look like on the DNA test, right? It's what people would call junk DNA or unidentified DNA. And it would just look like normal DNA. It doesn't have like a triple helix or anything like that. But there may be a high vibrational element to that DNA strand as well. And I don't know where that just came from. That just like popped in. um, that kind of coincides with some other stuff they taught me too, anyway. But it looks like just random DNA, but it's certain code. It's the code itself. The code is a thought. The code is an idea. It's an essence in itself. Everything is a thought. A galaxy is a thought. A planet, a solar system, you, a tree, a plant, a fish. Everything is a thought before it is created into existence. Whether it's a whole process or it just pops into existence. The DNA code, the code itself, is literally a thought in itself. Now, who does these genetic alterations on our bodies, right? Who creates these type 2 hybrid starseeds? The Federation. Now, most of these hybrid programs are ran by the Mantis beings. They are geneticists, genetic masters, so to speak. They are perfect in what they do. They are actually recruited into a lot of genetic projects throughout the galaxy and further out, probably. So they're really highly sought after for these hybrid programs. Now, when it comes to hybrid programs and genetic manipulation, there is a whole process that needs to be approved through the Federation and different groups within the Federation. There's a lot of litigation, a lot of political stuff that goes into that, like approving different things. So there are laws to hybridization, and some break those laws. The ones that don't work through the Galactic Federation, the rogue ones, they do steal some of our DNA for their own hybrid programs. I don't know anything about those hybrid programs. I'm talking about the hybrid program within the Federation itself. So you got type 1, which is everyone, like we covered earlier, which is the basic average human. Type 2 is us, who are vessels or to host souls that come here to help humanity. That's what a starseed is. If you feel a calling to do something, if you feel like you're not from here and you want to go home, you feel like your parents aren't really your parents, if you have lots and lots of health problems, especially when you're born, that's another sign, but not a guarantee. Um, like me personally, I was born with almost a no immune deficiency. I was catching every virus in the hospital and I almost died. I can't remember exactly what the fever was, but it was like 106, 108 fever, and I almost died. So we some of us have problems in that area. We're very sensitive to toxins in the atmosphere. We are sensitive to people's emotions, and we have more psychic abilities than the average person. Now, not all star seeds are equal in that area because it requires practice on our end. It requires us to get to that point, right? The Federation, sometimes, if you're important for a mission, the Federation will wake you up. They will shake you, like we said earlier. Um, but let's see. So yes, some of us are highly functioning autistic. Now, if you're highly functioning autistic, it doesn't mean that you're a starseed hybrid type 2 right away. Like, don't jump to that conclusion. That is one characteristic of being a hybrid. Let's see. So let's go into type 3 hybrids. I know we haven't gone over type 3 hybrids or my hybrid children yet. Would you like to hear about that?
Absolutely.
So we do have some pictures here today. I think I gave you those on Messenger. I don't know if you've got those where you can pull them up. Let's see. We'll put them in post edit.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll splice that in there, and then
okay.
So if you have those pulled up, if you just want to talk about them, the one thing that I noticed on that too, though, and is that they looked extremely Nordic to me. And it's funny that I guess with the supposed disclosure, and I'm not sure how valid that is. Was that the idea of Nordic aliens and hybrids? But I was shocked on how blonde and blue eyed that they were whenever he showed me those pictures.
Yes.
So and this is coming from somebody it's just to kind of, since we're on the subject of DNA, I'm 36% Hispanic, and then really pretty much the rest of it's all Nordic. So
wow.
so I got the height, but I didn't get I guess I got the height from the Nords, but the melanin from the Hispanic side. So
interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting combination. I love
that. So I'm very curious about the Nordic appearance, and then maybe the disclosure of Nordic aliens as well too.
Yes. So the Pleiadians, as some people call them, Nordics, they mostly have blue eyes, blonde hair, and now here's the thing: a lot of people, they throw the Hitler thing in there. I know, and they're like, "Oh, he believed in the Aryan race, and they were blonde hair, blue eyes, so you're supporting Hitler." No, I do not. Okay, that's not. We're not talking about the Aryan race. So I do believe that Hitler was contacted by the Federation, and he was asked to stop what he was doing, but he noticed that they were blonde hair and blue eyes, and I think he latched onto that, and he was like, "Oh my God, they are perfect divine beings." So he was like, "Oh, the only perfect people are blonde hair, blue eyes," and I think that's where that comes from. But anyway, rewinding a little bit, I just wanted to put that out there. Yes, the Pleiadians mostly have blonde hair, blue eyes. Now, I have heard of people seeing them with brown hair or darker hair, so it's not, unheard of. But their genetics are mostly blonde hair and blue eyes, and they have a divine quality. I've actually met them in every way possible. Pleiadian, I'm really connected to the Pleiadians, and I love them so much.
Do you think that
feel them with me now?
Oh, okay. Well, tell them I said hello. Put in a good word for me. So hopefully I haven't offended them yet.
No, you're fine.
Good. It's on that though. Are in your opinion, are humans extraterrestrial themselves, or were humans always here? And we have so many, and especially in the U.S., it's such a melting pot, such a spectrum of different types of humans. What if we have these, blonde hair, blue eye aliens out there? How did we end up with such a broad spectrum of human beings on Earth? Is there any correlation with that? Is that genetic splicing? Is that something that's happened over time?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I can answer where Bigfoots. What Bigfoots are today is an evolutionary path where we split off between Bigfoots and humans. Now, the reason we split off is the first genetic interaction or the alterations from what some people call the Anunnakis or the ancient aliens, right? They came here, they needed people to do things for them, so they created the perfect slave race that was easily controlled with their mind, control them with their mind, right? So they dampened the pineal gland down, they really dumbed it down, but thing is, later on, I know I'm skipping a lot of stuff within this story. in the timeline. But later on, after the Anunnaki left, there was this other group that came in. It's like Federation or like pre-Federation before they grew in numbers, but they saw you guys, or we saw you guys. I guess sometimes I refer to us as we. And we were like, oh my, you guys need help. You guys need to get back on track with your genetics. So they started putting in lots of different alien DNA within your blood. Okay, lots of alien, different mix of DNA, and that's where a lot of different characteristics come from. Probably what defines somewhat different races and different qualities and different races on Earth, the eye colors and all that stuff. So yeah, you are all a mix of different colors. To hybrid starseeds like us, we have a more organized and more directed DNA pattern within that alien. It's not a uniform mix. We have it's like, and instead of having a bush plant of genetics, we have a small tree with different branches with directed genetics. If that makes any sense. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, then I'm Bigfoot. I always knew I had a size 13 for a reason. So no, no, that's the reason people always come to me. Hey, I saw Sasquatch. You look just like him. So it's go talk to him. So as far as it goes, like you said, mantis. Do they actually look like what we would consider like a praying mantis here on Earth, or is a genuine question? Yeah. So is that something that's and then I guess the different types out there, like how many, and I'm sure in the infinite vastness of the universe, how many different species are out there?
Okay, I can't give you an exact number,
Okay.
but I do know there's hundreds that go on and off planet or around the Earth. There are hundreds that come and go here, but there's thousands and thousands within our galaxy, millions and millions within our universe, if not billions. They're everywhere. Where there could be life, where life is possible, there will be life. Life is the default state of the universe because that gives our souls more things to experience. We can incarnate into an animal on the Earth or an animal on another planet or a civilization on another planet. These are different portals, like ports that we can plug our souls into and have experiences and go have fun. So that's why the universe is designed that way. We designed it that way as our highest God self, to have experiences, to be able to interact with ourselves.
Is there life on all planets, or because you hear about how inhabitable that they are? How does that work? So say like,
okay,
and I get that more than likely the government is probably withholding a lot of information on that end. If and for me, I think it's kind of silly to believe that as large as the universe is, that we're the only things floating on a rock out there. Are there less advanced life forms than us, or are we pretty much still the primitive ones?
There are less advanced ones than us on other planets. Some are going through some of the same stuff we're going through. Some of them are still in the rudimentary stage of their technologies. Like some are in stone ages, some are in the steam ages and different things. So yeah, there's levels everywhere, of the evolution of civilizations. But what was the other part of your question?
I guess for an inhabitable or uninhabitable planets.
Okay, yes, I remember now. So here's the thing. Not all planets have life, but the ones that can support life will support life. Whether, I don't know how long life would survive on that planet. There may be disasters, there may be natural things that happen that kills life off, and that happens. Life comes and goes within the universe. It's a constant fluctuation of life and death. And it's like in Star Wars, you can feel the positive and the negative, the flow of the force. That's what the force is. The real force of Star Wars is based on actual stuff people don't realize. The force is the flow of reality, the flow of God through everything, of destruction and creation. So yes, there's life coming and going, but here's the thing. For example, if you go to Venus right now, what will you see? Toxic, right? Toxic environment, hot, like inhospitable. If you go into a higher dimension, you will see a city thriving, a divine angelic city. There are dimensions to the universe. So life is not cut and dry. It's not just three-dimensional biological, right? There's layers to the universe. There's layers to life. So when we start going exploring the universe, you guys are going to start understanding this. You're going to be taught this stuff by the Federation. When we go on expeditions, we will scan the first layer, and then the second layer, and then the third layer. There are layers to dimension in this universe, and there's different life forms within those layers. So on Venus, there is a higher dimensional city. The Venusians live there, and you can hear about accounts of Venusians from many different people. And I'm pretty sure that Tesla was a Venusian. And there's actually some document from the government that was released a long time ago. We can look into that later. Where they say he was a Venusian. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay. So as far as like Venusian goes, and obviously, whenever you look at history, the way we've named planets, and after philosophers, would so on Venus, if we were to have named it in the past, what would they call themselves? Would they call themselves Venusians, or what would they call themselves on that planet?
That's a good question. I've only heard them referred to as Venusians.
Mhm.
I haven't spoke to them directly about what they would call themselves. If it wasn't for us calling them their planet Venus. I will have to get back to you on that. If I do
Okay.
receive any information or hear anything from the data points that connect, I will let you know. But for now, everybody just refers to them as Venusians, and I think
Okay.
we kind of just adopted that and let humans call them that to make it simpler.
Yeah, I just figured since if they're a higher being, it would be
Mhm.
it would be strange to me that they would call themselves with a
Yeah, I
human
know,
name.
right?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree
So,
with that statement.
okay. So, as far as grays, like they're the most commonly reported. Like anytime you hear about like, a documentation about it, or if you have anybody that's dealt with, aliens, they don't typically report what you're reporting. They always refer to grays. What is a gray? Why are they here? And one thing that I've also read into it is that that they're at risk of, I suppose, extinction, and so they are looking to us to help, I guess, increase their population within hybrids. What is a gray, and why are they so
Okay.
common around, I guess, Earth?
Okay, I'm gonna tie all of this in for you. So I know earlier you mentioned mantis beings as well,
Hmm.
and yes, they do look like mantis beings. I just wanted to go back and answer that question. They do look like mantises.
That's terrifying.
um, well, it can be. That's why most of the interactions with mantis beings are through consciousness and dream communication, meditation. Very rarely will us type 2 hybrids or anyone see a mantis being in person because it's traumatizing for people. I know Whitley Strieber has seen one in person. I know there's some guy on a like History Channel. He talks about his experience, and he's seen one out in the woods one time, and it cloaked as it went away. It's very rare to see them in person, and that's because they don't want to scare you. But let's get into the grays, right? So there's many types of grays. There's some that come from other timelines that are us. There's some that are completely different species. They vary slightly in their appearance, and not all of them are for the same purpose. Some of them are in service to self, and some of them are in service to others. And the ones that are usually in service to others are in connection with the Galactic Federation. So uh, they're the ones who are connected with the Galactic Federation. They are heavily into the hybrid program and us Type 2 hybrids. So this goes into what I was going to talk about earlier is the hybrid children, my hybrid children, and Type 2's hybrid children, which are also are classified as Type 3 hybrids. And before I go into that, did I answer your question clearly?
Yes.
Okay. This also to elaborate a little bit more. Some people call the grays like drones or robots and androids and stuff. That's a common misconception. Now there probably are some that are more biological, mechanical, like biologically designed to do certain tasks, but they do have the spark within them. Some of them are probably controlled by mantis beings and other conscious beings like robots, and they control them with their brain. But It doesn't mean that all of them are like that. Okay, because a lot of the grays that we encounter, a lot of experiencers, they're very divine, they're very beautiful, and they're loving, and they're very playful, very childlike, but they're very intelligent at the same time, and they have that God spark within them. So let's go into the hybrid program a little bit more, the type 3 hybrid. So they take our genetics, the genetics that they've altered over 4 generations. See, the thing is, when we come here as a star seed, we don't only do one thing. We're not just here to do one part of a job. It's a multifactual part of jobs. So I know I'm tripping over my words. We've been talking a while. So we have chosen this before we incarnate here. That's the biggest thing I want to put out there right now. A lot of people are like, oh, I didn't choose this. I didn't choose to have my fetuses being taken and put back in and all this. As our higher selves, we have chose this life, right? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Okay. So yes, as our higher selves, we have chose this life to help the Federation and other projects. Now, they take our DNA, type 2 hybrids, and they combine it with full-blooded ETs, like Greys and or the Nordics. I don't think they combine our type 2 DNA with mantis beings, but I can't attest to that completely. I haven't seen or heard of a hybrid mantis being. That would be wild. But I think our genetics are too wide to make a 50-50 mix. But so why make type 3 hybrids? Why do we have children up there? I will tell you a story about my hybrid child, and then I'll tell you why they exist. So I was laying in my bed right here, and the being was standing right here, literally right here. Okay, this is exactly the same spot. So I was in bed, I was sleeping on the left side of my bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I felt this tiny little hand, this tiny little cold fingers, just kind of do this, like hold my hand. And then I wake up and I'm in this docile, sleepy state. Like, I can't get up out of bed. I'm kind of like slightly paralyzed, but I can move a little bit. And I look over at her. I look toward my left, right here. And I'm looking at her, and she's so divine, so beautiful. She's blonde, not blonde, but pale white skin, pale white hair, big black eyes, about 4 feet tall, about 9 years old in human years, wearing a white robe. And I kid you not, she was just smiling at me and just sending me so much love. And then I started tossing and turning a little bit, like in my bed, like tossing around. And she was like pulling something out of me, some kind of trauma or something that was like from a past life or something. I don't quite know exactly. But it was something I can't even put into words. Ever since then, I felt like she's my daughter. Like, I passed out shortly after that, but she said to me before I passed out, I was wallowing in my bed, right? I stopped and I looked at her one more time, and she said, "I'm here to help you, and we're gonna keep helping you." And then I passed out. But to this day, I attest to this, that she is my daughter. She is my hybrid child. I feel this connection of just amazing, like, motherhood daughter connection. I can't even put it to words. It's just, it's so beautiful. um I don't know her name. I do call her Nova from time to time, um but that's kind of what I call her. But there is another story about another hybrid child that I have. I'm pretty sure she's born now. But anyway, why why are they here? Why are they being created? So there's 2 different timelines we're going to go down. There is the good timeline, and then there's the awful timeline. Now, there's some other few ones in the middle that's kind of like in the gray area where we could fall into, but here's the gist of it. We could go down the timeline where everything goes to shit. Excuse my language. Everything just goes.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
I usually drop an F-bomb. I'm doing pretty good today.
It's a timeline where we have a lot of wars, and we're right there. We're right there at that split right now. You see it happening on the news. We're either going to go into a lot of wars, biological warfare, chemical warfare. But again, if nukes happen, it's going to be a world-changing thing. But the ETs won't let it happen. But we can destroy ourselves and destroy the planet, or we can look inward and find God within ourselves and find the peace and put religions aside, put our differences aside, and know that we're all one and we're all here to love. And that's the timeline, or with the hybrid. The hybrids are going to be involved in both of these timelines. Okay. So the awful timeline, the hybrids will replace humanity. If you guys destroy yourself, our children will come down and replace you. Just saying it straight up. But it's not something evil or anything. We're not causing the destruction. You guys are causing the destruction. It's a fail-safe to preserve the human genetics, even though it's a hybrid. Our children are going to be way more adapted to living in a different vibration, for one thing, and a higher vibration on this planet, because it's going to be chaotic here.
The contingency plan, yeah.
Exactly. It's a contingency plan. Exactly. And the other route is the one that I'm hoping for, where you get to meet my child. You get to meet our children. And you get to live, they get to live amongst you in the new society, in the new world that we're trying to build. And they're so beautiful. They're so amazing and just divine. I really hope that we go down that timeline so you can meet my children and our children. So yeah, there it is.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. If you're comfortable with talking about that, how does that whole process work? Is it DNA splicing typically, or and again, you don't if that's over the top or that's something that you're not comfortable sharing?
No, it's okay. It's people talk about it. It can be just trigger warning for a lot of experiencers out there. If you've had this happen to you, just you know exactly what I'm about to get into. Some people are still dealing with PTSD in this area from experiencers. So just giving you a forewarning, trigger warning. So strictly we're just going to go into the medical stuff. Now, it can get a little sensitive. I know some people get a little uncomfortable when you talk about these kind of things, but they go down. They can either take the sperm from a male, and they use that, or they can take the eggs from a female. And I think all of this is combined in the same process. So they take the sperm and they edit the sperm, and then they take the female's eggs. They go down, they take the female up, and they take the eggs out of her, right? And then they alter the sperm and they alter the egg, and they insert the DNA they're creating our bodies, right, over the years. So they go in, and they splice it all together, and they put the fetus or the egg back into the woman, and it gestates. It bakes for about 4 months or so, give or take 4 to 6 months. It's not 9 months at all. It takes less time. They take them probably prematurely before they're completely formed, because they have to be put in tanks on the ships, and they finish growing them on the ships. Now, those are type 3s, the ones that they grow on the ships. Now, the other ones, sometimes this process involves our vessels as well. So it involves type 2 and type 3s is what I'm talking about. But the ones that they have to take and they don't return, like if the woman loses the baby out of nowhere, they grow them the rest of the way on the ships in these little containers. And a lot of experiencers have got to meet their children. A lot of us type 2 hybrids have got to meet our type 3 hybrid children on the ships, and we get to watch them play. And sometimes they play with other kids in like a playroom, and they learn psychic abilities and play with these psychic toys and stuff. There's a lot of that going on as well. And there's this connection thing that they want the child to experience, that connection to their genetic parent. And so, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. It's yeah, and I've heard different methods. It almost seems, I guess, in a way like IVF in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just and I know we're kind of running over on time here in just a little bit. It's been about an hour and a half, so it's been a good talk so far. I guess just touching on to it is, before I go into like public perception, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we moved on to that?
I do want to talk about my my second experience in 2024.
Sure.
This is a very important one that I'd like to share. So this one I have evidence. I have pictures of. You could put it in post-processing. It's the grid marks that were on my back. Mm-hmm. And most of my TikTok community have seen these over and over. So here's the thing. It was around about a year ago. and I went to the dentist to have some teeth removed, and they gave me anesthesia. Now, remember what I said earlier? Type 2 hybrids, we are sensitive to different things. We're also sensitive to medications, different things. So the anesthesia, the liquid anesthesia that they gave me, was affecting my brain, and it was making me feel really lethargic and sleepy the week after my surgery. And I asked the Federation, I said, can you guys please do something? I need help because I can't do these live streams. I can't teach humanity. I can't do the mission. If anything impedes the mission in a really bad way, they will intervene. They will help me. So here's the thing. I went to bed and I woke up with these red grid marks on my back. 2 red grid mark patterns, one on the left, one on the right. And as you can see, if you're looking at the pictures now, you can see they're diamond shaped, right? These are experienced by thousands of people. There's actually a Facebook group, and this is how I met my hypnotist, Daniel. He is the scientist. He's the lead scientist investigator on these marks, and he is determined. And I'm pretty sure I'm getting exactly how you say this, but he said that 60% of people who have red grid mark phenomenon have had dream contact or some kind of ET interaction within their dreams. Now, I find this very interesting. But anyway, the marks lasted for about 5 days, and they slowly turned into a sunburn and faded away. Now, I get all kinds of comments. I get people saying, "Oh, you were just laying on a grid. You were laying on the back of a truck." For one, there's no trucks around here with grid bumps like that. There's nothing for me to get those marks from. They did not burn. They did not sting. Okay, my girlfriend was the one who noticed them when I woke up, and if it wasn't for her, if I lived alone, I would have not known they were there. But anyway, I felt like I could run a marathon that day when I woke up with the marks. I could run like it was insane the amount of energy that I had. So I asked them at the end of the day. I said, "What did you guys do? I want to know what you guys did." And they showed me when I went to sleep. They showed me it wasn't a dream. I can guarantee you it was not a dream. They showed me it was a memory. It was way more intense than anything. Like it was like you were there, right? A memory. There's a difference between a memory and a dream. But I was laying on a white table in a white room. The room was curved. Everything was just like smooth, and the light was coming from everywhere. And I had a tube in my right nostril and my right ear, and I couldn't look to my left or right too much. I was trying to move, but I could look down at the end of the table, and I saw 4 or 5 beings standing there. They were dressed in blue, similar to what I've got on now, representing the Federation, by the way. But yes, they were wearing blue, and they had blonde hair, and they were all male. And I couldn't see their faces clearly because probably I don't wear my glasses to bed, so they probably took my body and they left my glasses behind, but I couldn't see their faces clearly. But in my mind, they said, "Shh, it's okay." And then I passed back out on the table, just like before. Remember, he said, "Shh, it's okay," and they always do that. And I passed back out. So that is a reoccurring thing with my take-in experiences. But yeah, I woke up in the morning with that memory, and I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much!" And ever since then, I've met the Pleiadians in my room. I've seen them standing beside my couch. Sometimes I sleep on the couch, and I wake up and I see one standing there, but I can't wake up all the way. But I feel this feeling of love and protection coming from them. And it was a male. And he was just standing there, and I was like, and I just went back to sleep. And then I've seen them in my dreams. They come to me. Sometimes they just smile at me, and they're just checking on me. And sometimes, or not sometimes, there's one thing I want to talk about here. I know I'm going over. I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm worried about your time too. So.
Oh no, it's the afternoon.
Yeah.
So when I went to contact in the desert, I know a lot of people are going to find this hard to believe, but I know I've said a lot of stuff that people are going to find hard to believe. So when I went to Contact in the Desert, if you're not familiar to what that is like UFO Woodstock. That is like the UFO convention of the year. And I'm going to try to go back next year. It's like I was actually invited there by the ETs. That's a whole nother story. But I saw 2 Pleiadian women at the convention, and I was not the only one who saw them. They were standing about 5, 6 feet away from Chris Bledsoe's booth, and they were just kind of listening to him very loosely, very casually, and they just kind of seemed really out of place. And they were just standing really still, and everybody was walking around, and they were just like there was something about them. So I approached them, and I immediately thought like, oh my god, they look like Pleiadians, and then something just went, and it popped out of my head, right? And I was just captivated by their eyes, and it was just like, but I started networking. I told them about the organization, the United Experiences Initiative, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I was networking. I was telling them, giving them a business card, and the whole time they were just like, mm-hmm. I don't even think they verbalized it. They just were like, just listening very quietly. They didn't say a word, and they were just staring at me so elegantly, so angelic like. And when I walked away, they just kept staring at me like imagine that you walked away from me and I'm the Pleiadian, right? And she was just like, just very, very odd, right? And the other one that looked just like her, she was peeking over her head too, like this. Like I can't make this stuff up. It was just like really uncanny and weird, but also very loving and beautiful. But here's the thing. When I got home all the way back to Tennessee, it popped in my head, and I was like, oh my God, those are Pleiadians. They were wearing velvet suits, by the way, black velvet in California. Okay. But it popped in my head. I was like, oh my God, those are Pleiadians. They were suppressing my thoughts. As soon as I walked up to them and made that connection, they were like, nope, you're not supposed to know that right now because you've got to network for the United Experiences Initiative. And yeah. So.
I guess it's neat that they go to festivals. You know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, it is funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of vibration to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I ran into them at the Saucers over Appalachia, but you know, it's good to know that they like to party too. So it's
yeah.
So all right. So I guess going into it, how would you respond if people were to say that what you say is misleading or exaggerated or performance based? How would you respond to something like that, or that kind of criticism?
So what I would say is that don't take it from me. Don't take it just from me. Listen to other experiencers. The connecting data points between us tell the truth. Now, a lot of people are expecting disclosure to come from the government, some big announcement, right? No, disclosure is already amongst you, us. Okay? We are disclosure. We have the truth. Listen to our experiences. People doing podcasts just like you. You're getting our stories out there. We are disclosure. Okay, look at the data. That there's data sets. There's different things you can find on the internet. There's different data pools that you can go into. Look at the connecting data points. Listen to books like The Dual Soul Connection by Susie Hansen, Dolores Cannon's books. Highly, highly recommend Abductions by John E. Mack. Read these books. Find them in audio form. Whatever you have to do. Read books written by experiencers or written by hypnotic regression therapists that have talked to experiencers. You're going to hear the same stuff that I've been saying. You will find the same data points, except for some of it's my personal experiences, of course, but you can find similar experiences amongst these data points as well. So that's what I would say to people that are claiming that I'm making all this up. I'm not doing this for clout. I'm not doing this for attention. All my money, all my love and attention goes to you guys, goes to humanity. And my girlfriend just asked me the other day, she said, do you ever think about anything else? Like, and I'm like, no, this is my life. And this is my mission. This is what I'm here to do. And of course, I do have some small free time every now and then, and I'll play a game or something. But at the same time, I feel guilty that I'm not doing something productive for humanity. And it's almost like this itch that I cannot completely scratch, you know? But no, I'm not doing this for clout. I'm not doing this for attention. This is literally what I'm here to do. And all of us are here to do other type 2 hybrids / starseeds. We're here to do. We're here to help you. And we urge you to listen to us when we come to you with advice. Now, you said earlier, by the way, you said there's a lot of people claiming to be star seeds. There is some qualities about us that you will see right away, and you'll know who we are. First of all, we have no egos. There's no ego here. And yes, I love to wear this headband. That doesn't mean I have an ego or that I think I'm better than anyone. I've worn headbands my whole life. This is something from a past life, probably. But we love you guys so much, and we have an essence about us. When we walk into a room, we bring the love, the light, the compassion. You can see it coming off of us. Like when I went to Contact in the Desert, I had people coming up to me and they're like, I just want to stand in your presence. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to being around people with their vibrations are slightly lower and they can't sense that. So if your vibration is high enough, you will sense us. You will know who a true starseed is. And it's very different for me to experience that. By the way, that was pretty wild for people to treat me that way, and I was just like, wow, it's they can really feel it, and it was actually nice to be seen for once in that on that dimensional level, and not in an ego way, but like in a respectful, compassionate way, and I feel loved. I feel appreciated. But anyway, that's what I want to say on that. I know we're running out of time. Should we talk about one last thing about the United Experiencers Initiative?
Yeah, here in just a moment, unless you got to
Okay.
run. It's so I was going to say, it is a good affirmation whenever you get around certain types of people that, and we experienced that at the festival as well too. Is if people were as nice as you and it comes to listening to us, it would make us feel a lot better. So I know that we take everything with a grain of salt, and we tend to not laugh at people, but laugh with them, in some of their stories, which I think that's what we've done here a little bit today. It's,
Hmm.
and that's, I think that's what people want to hear, though, is that whether you believe me or not, it's good to have a safe place to tell a story, or share your story. And going back to that too, I know that you said that, the government was, that disclosure is everywhere. I think the reason why people are seeking to get disclosure from the government on a lot of these cases is just due to the fact that even though it seems like there's not a lot of trust in the government these days, it I suppose getting that disclosure from the government would make them feel more valid, and I guess hearing it from the
Yes.
government, yeah. So
It's because of the system that they've been
yeah,
placed in and programmed to believe in. It's like, oh, look at
yeah.
us. We're higher up on a pedestal. What we
Mm.
say is the truth, and what we say goes.
Right, right. So, as far as it goes, and I know we talked about, validation and certain scrutiny. What if somebody came up to you and they told you your exact story, and they were making claims that they were like you? Would there be a vetting process to that? Would you automatically believe what they're saying to you? Would you screen that? Would you go through that process with them and say, okay, this person's telling me this, I think that's outlandish. How would you go about discretion on that? Because I think that's an important thing too, is that we can talk to people like people like me that would go out there. Again, we don't sensationalize. We don't. We're I think the word that kept getting used, are you guys like Zach Bagans? We're nothing like Zach Bagans. We're not. We're here just to kind of hear your truth and to discuss it. We'll come out and look, and more times out of, 9 times out of 10, there's usually nothing going on, but then we have that one occasion. If you had somebody come up to you with your exact story or a very similar story, how would you vet that process, to see if they were, valid or if they were just blowing smoke, so to speak?
Okay. So here's the thing. Of course, people can claim stuff, and they could be lying. They could be saying exactly what they want me to hear. But we have to look at their actions, and there's a vibrational element to this too. If you're an experiencer, if you are a type 2 hybrid starseed, you can see right through these people. You know exactly who they are and if they're actually genuine or not. So there is a type of automatic vetting when it comes to us. So you can't fool us. So another like obvious thing other than like the vibrational thing that other people can notice is, what do they put their time into? Do they actually like spend most of their money on other people or organizations to help humanity or something? Are they in a service to self? There's a certain quality to people. You can tell if they have an ego problem, right? If they, it's like, oh, I'm spiritual, so I am better than you. That is running rampant right now, and true spiritualism is not like hierarchy. true spiritualism is centering yourself, going within, quieting your mind, and finding God divinity within yourself, and knowing that we're all equal in the playing field. Everyone and everything is equal. And if you see that in them and don't see ego, then they are telling the truth.
Okay, well that's a good answer. So, looking at your live last night, one thing that I did notice on there too, and again, just stop me if I'm asking too many questions. So whenever I was on your live last night and looking through it, and along with the fellow Wendibros, I saw the word cult, and I know and that literally is a 4-letter word. So a lot of the things that you do talk about here, though, are things that are taught in religion. Whether it's organized religion or just faith in general. And for me, I don't assign myself to any denomination. I was raised Catholic, then Methodist, and then, we broke away from those churches. And my parents were like, we want you to find God on your own and not have indoctrination through religion. So I follow a lot of practices of Buddhist teachings and Jesus. And that's just a personal note on my end too. But as far as it goes, as far as religion and indoctrination, how do you handle somebody that was to say that, you are trying to organize a form of religion, or you could possibly be, and again, I mean, no offense by this, it's,
No,
on my end, it's a legitimate question. How would you handle somebody that says that, you could possibly be an emerging cult-like mentality? The things that you're perpetuating could be perceived as, the basis of an organized new faith.
Well, so here's the thing. Throughout history, there has been a suppression when it comes to spirituality, and it's religion. Religious groups have been suppressing us, and it goes all the way back to like the Celtics and Wiccan and all of that stuff. They labeled us as evil and bad. And now, instead of labeling us evil and bad, they just been labeling us as cults. Anything that involves with it, loving yourself and loving each other, oh, it's a cult. It's a cult. Everything's a cult. There are cults. I'm not saying that cults don't exist. And I do believe that most religions, especially, no offense to you or anyone, that most.
No, I think I agree with what you're getting ready to say.
Most religions are a type of organized cult because they tell you have to do this, you have to do that. And spirituality, within, it's a personal experience. It's when it comes to someone standing up on a podium and saying that they are the all-in tell-all and they know everything, and that's when it becomes cult-like. I am just a public speaker. I am just starting a movement. Nobody called Martin Luther King a cult leader, right? So there's this element to it, but there's this thing that I've seen happen to people. It's this ego that slips in, and it makes them into a cult leader. The power, or whatever you want to call it, goes through their head, and it just twists their psyche, and it just like gets to them, and they're like, "Oh, the power! I am the chosen one. I am here." That's why I don't like the word chosen one. Okay, a lot of people are like, "Oh, am I one of the chosen ones? Am I one of the chosen ones?" Referring to type 2 hybrids. It's not chosen ones. We came here. We chose to come here to help humanity. Not one of us are higher than the other. And this is what we're teaching. So someone's got to lead the movement, though, right? But we have to do it in a way to where I don't look like a cult leader, right? I'm just presenting the things to you on how to help humanity, how to heal yourself, how to help yourself. And it's up to you to do that on your own. Go out and do that on your own, or you can join the UEI, the United Experiences Initiative, and do that under one roof. But it's not a cult. It's a movement. It's a new paradigm that we're trying to develop here. It's not a cult. We don't develop rules and regulations and like, oh, you can't eat this certain food. You can't go out and do this. And no, it's nothing like that. But we do encourage people to do the right thing and to be in service of others. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. All right. So I think on my end, I think that's about everything I had. I guess if you had one truth or message, or what your legacy will be when you leave this current plane, what legacy or truth would you want people to know going forward after all this?
The United Experiencers Initiative.
Okay.
That's I want to touch on that. That is the legacy. That is the wave that will usher in a new era. And again, we can't do it alone. We are just one cell in a multicellular organism, right? And all of this, but this is me. This is my legacy that I'm leaving behind for you guys. This is the United Experiencers Initiative. Now, it is going to be an international nonprofit. We're still getting our 501c3 established, and we are calling experiencers, whether you're a type 2 hybrid, someone who's seen a saucer, someone who's met them, and other people who want a better world. Now, the reason we're calling experiencers to come out and be brave, we're giving them a voice, we're giving them the power to speak out and be in a group, right? Because we are stronger in numbers. We are disclosure. We're calling you guys to come out so we can eventually teach you guys, teach the rest of the world what we've been taught, which is love and compassion, that we are all one. This is the message that the ETs, that the Federation wants us to tell you, is that we are all one, we are connected, we are God divinity, divine, that the kingdom of heaven is within yourself. It's not out here. There's no God to pray to out there. The God is you, it's within you. So the United Experiences Initiative is going to do way much more than that as well. We're going to be developing school systems to teach people psychic abilities, get back to our ancient techniques and ancient ways, to get back to good spiritual health, mental health. All of this stuff is it's the basis, it's the ground level of creating a new society. We need to start with the children, teach the children how to be better people, okay, and have good mental health, and teach them psychic abilities at an early age, and they can feel that love and that divine connection right from the beginning. So we're also going to be creating laws. I'm developing a bill right now to protect experiencers in the workplace. It's called the EPA bill, the Experiencer Protection Initiative Act, something like that. But yeah, it's the EPA bill. We are going to try to get it passed in Congress. I do have some friends in high places within disclosure right now, and I'm turning a lot of heads. People are watching, people are listening to see what I'm going to do, but some of them are helping me. But this bill is going to protect experiencers in the workplace and other organizations if they come out and speak about their truths, that they can't get fired. Because sometimes we get fired for telling the truth or speaking our truths, and we are going to stop that. We need the foundation. We need the rock solid foundation for experiencers to come out. So yes, the act needs to be passed. The bill needs to be passed, but we're also going to advocate for denuclearization of the planet, helping the planet, getting chemicals and everything out of the water, and just all of this stuff. And there's going to be different branches within the UEI to do all this. But we're also going to do peaceful set-ins or protests and stuff like that, like peaceful protests, of course. But all of this is to increase people's frequency, to get them into the new age of ascension, where we can be connected with the ETs and the galactic community. One day, all of you will be a part of the Galactic Federation, and you can go forth and do amazing things within the galaxy. We're going to advocate for dismantling the whole government system. We're going to develop a whole new thing, working with people within that's developing the new paradigms and stuff in the next world coming. We're going to tear down the whole 9 to 5 job systems where you don't have to work till you're like old and gray. It's ridiculous. This is literally like one of the only planets that does that in this galaxy. We are in a slave system. Yes, slavery was abolished, but it was just it wasn't really. It was just relabeled. So anyway, that's what the UEI is about. If anyone's listening to this and you want to know more about it, just check out the links in the description. In the description. We do have a Discord. We're still working on building the website. We need more funds. Unfortunately, that's how the society that we live in right now, but we're going to get that taken care of in the future. So there's other things in store for you guys that the Federation wants to get done, but I can't talk about those publicly. Those will be after the UEI and for the New World. But yeah, if you guys contact me, you see my number, you see my email, you see the Discord link. If you can't get into the Discord, please email me and I'll send you another link because sometimes it doesn't work. But this is the message, this is the legacy that I'm leaving for you. The message that I'm leaving with you today is remember that you are amazing. You're so powerful. All of you humans are so powerful. You have no idea the capabilities that you guys have locked away inside of you. And we're here to help you bring that out. We're here to usher you into a new world, a divine heavenly city on earth. And I really hope we can make that happen for you. But you have to reach halfway to us. You have to, we can lead you to the water, but it's up to you to drink it. So thank you so much.
What's a good email for them to reach out to you to?
It's contact.theuei@gmail.com. Now, we do have another email with our domain, but that's the one that we're using right now for now. Still, it's contact.theuei@gmail.com.
Okay. Good. You know, one thing that you touched on though is about the they laugh at our 9-to-5 jobs. Do they have hourly employees on other planets? Do they have to punch in just like? Do they get lunch breaks?
Some of them do have missions and things that they sign up for, but they can opt out. They can say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, and they'll just have someone else come and take their spot. But they do it in service to others and satisfaction of knowing that they're contributing to something great. It's not to gain money to buy things. It's to know that you're making a difference, and you actually do it out of the goodness of your heart because that's what you want to do, because it brings you love and fulfillment knowing that you're helping a great cause and whatever task you're doing. So in the future, we're going to have lots of artificial intelligence, robots, and things doing a lot of jobs for us, and eco culture. We're going to be coexisting with our technology and the planet. That's the thing. Humans go against the planet, right? We need to work with the planet finally in coexistence with it, not against it. So
yeah, I think that's already kind of going through with AI and technology and stuff too.
Mhm.
All right, well, I think that's all I have. I had a general observation, and this is a call out to you. You know, I noticed that you swatted that mosquito on your live stream last night.
No, I can't hear you.
I noticed that you swatted that mosquito on your live stream last night, and that was not
Yes.
that was not very namaste.
Yeah. As a reaction, I really hate when that happens. I just pay the mosquito respect.
Yeah,
and I just send them back to the source.
Well, my wife saved a wasp yesterday, and so don't worry about it. It's I just thought that was, you know, she noticed that last night. She goes, she swatted the mosquito. So, all right. Well, Nadalee, it has been a very interesting talk, and I do feel like we could probably keep going on. There's still a lot of questions I could probably ask you. I definitely like to get you back on eventually, and I appreciate you taking the time out for us, and to all your TikTok followers that tuned in. Truly appreciate them for taking time out of their day to listen to you and also listen to me ramble on with different questions and observations and my poorly timed jokes at times. So, if there is one question that you wish we'd ask, what do you have a question that we didn't ask you that you wish that we did?
Yes, there's just one. How do you contact the ETs? How do you establish communication with them? Now, there is a pinned video on my TikTok channel, and I can give you a copy of that as well, and you guys can upload that at anywhere you want. But I'll give you the quick rundown. First of all, it's preliminary steps before you start doing this, but you can do these preliminary steps at any time while trying to contact them. So work on yourself, like we said. Start loving yourself, loving others, be in service to others, learn forgiveness, like we talked about earlier, and practice all of that daily. Be in service to others. Love. Feel that love, that oneness within yourself. Find God within yourself. So dissolve your fear of ET. That's another big one. And you can imagine them in a good light, like daydream about having a cup of tea with them or going to like a football game or whatever, you know. Just like reprogram your brain when it comes to ETs. So the preliminary steps, the actual steps, are pick yourself a nice spot. You can do day or night. Night is preferred for most people because it's easier on our eyes and we can see them easier. So you go out, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to listen to everything around you. Listen to the sounds. Just relax and focus on your breathing too. And listen to the sounds around you and know that you are everything. Everything that you hear, you are that. That is an outer extension of you. You can do one thing at a time. The birds, the wind, the planes, cars, anything that you hear, it's all an outer extension of you. We're all part of this dream reality. Then I want you to open your eyes, and I want you to put another layer on that. I want you to look and see and know that everything you see around you is you. Then I want you to imagine and go out further. You are the planet. You are the solar system. You are the galaxy. You are the universe. You are God. You are everything. Really embody that feeling. And once you get past that stage, I want you to start filling your heart with love. Get yourself into that agape love. It's an old Greek word that means love for everything and everyone. Get yourself into that loving state. Think about pets, friends, family, anything and everything that you love or love to do, like art. Think about that love. Fill your heart with that joy and happiness. Because telepathic communication comes from the heart, not just the mind. The mind directs it where to go, but the heart, the emotions, energy and motion, that's what telepathic communication is. So after you fill your heart with love, I want you to send it out to the universe, send it out to all the beings in existence and say, I am here. Mentally, just push out the intention. I am here. Feel my love. Really push out that love. Have the intention. And they will come to you. And when they do, show them compassion. Show them love. And I know you'll freak out probably, as most people do, but just keep breathing and know that you're okay. You invited them to you. And if they're positive, they will be there because you're putting out positivity. So just know that they are there for you and you called them there. But it could take a day, it could take a week, it could take a month. I've had hundreds of people come back to me and they're like, oh my God, it worked. Now, some people like Stephen Greer has called this CE5. He coined that term. But this is a more simpler version of literally contacting our galactic brothers and sisters.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and don't do like I do, and I'll make sure I link that video into this before we go live or before we actually release this, and scream at the sky like I did last night. So. Yeah. So I was, show me, it's, so I probably wasn't very namaste last night.
But I would love to go out with you on the mountain, and we can do it together.
I've already talked to John about it, and I think we're going to try to get out there with some of our equipment just to kind of see what it's all about and see what we can catch and find on our end too. So we kind of feel like the X-Files in a way because, even though we handle everything with scrutiny, we want to believe. So, well, Nadalee, aka Nebula on TikTok, thank you so much for coming on. And it's been a little over 2 hours. Doesn't feel like it. So I know, there's not enough time in the day, even though, we always like to say that time is, just a perceived thing here and there. But yeah, thank you for having me. And all your TikTok followers that tuned in, thank you for, again, listening to us ramble for over 2 hours. And I hope that you all take care of yourselves and that you take care of that mental health. Even if, you listen to Nebula today and you don't really align with that, or if you don't align with what I said, mental health is very important. It is an epidemic right now. And it's important that you secure yourself and have good outlets to turn to, which for her, the UEI, and for me, the Wendibros, obviously. So, Nadalee, thank you so much.
And that was Nadalee Hill, unfiltered and utterly herself. A hybrid, a summoner, an experiencer, a voice for what she calls the United Experiencers Initiative. Extraordinary claims indeed. And Doug approached them the only way we know how, with questions, not conclusions. We're not here to tell you what's true. We're here to give truth room to breathe, and sometimes that means letting the strange speak for itself. Whether you walk away convinced, confused, or simply more curious than before, we're glad you walked with us at all. Until next time, keep your mind open, your feet on the ground, and your eyes on the sky. The Wendibros would like to give a big thanks to Nadalee Hill for sharing her incredible story with us. Who knows, there might be more to come in the future with our new friend. The Wendibros is sponsored by Leanne Warren LLC. Real people helping real people. Contact them for mobile notarizations, private investigative services, and efficient services. Licensed, bonded, and accessible to all of Tennessee. The theme song, Midnight Remembrance, was written and composed by the ever-mysterious band Songs of Salem. Look for the Wendibros on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. You never know, you may catch them in a town near you soon.